Hello, my name is Keith Blosser, and I am the District Staff Officer for Legal, the DSO-LP. And a lot of people don't realize what the P stands for, but it's for parliamentarian. So today we're going to be talking about meeting management tips. I would say that I do have three very good ADSOs in the district that help me out quite a bit. Lou Nichols down in Kentucky, Jim Sprague in Central Ohio, and Jeff Getty, who's in the Pittsburgh area. All three are terrific resources and go-to people to help not just manage elections or help with questions for running more efficient meetings and working things out, but also contracts. I rely on all three throughout the district and want to make sure that you know that they're out there to assist you as well. So today, as I indicate, I'm the DSO-LP. I also serve as the Assistant Chief Counsel for Atlantic Area West. In my, civilian career, I've been an Ohio Assistant Attorney General. I've worked in-house at some state agencies, and I'm currently now in private practice. Meeting management tips, I guess you would think is pretty basic. And I think you'd be surprised at how complicated or technical it can be and how important it can be to run a good meeting to keep people involved and to make sure everyone is heard and business is conducted and things move forward. It's really the only way that we can officially do business in the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. And of course, it has to be done right. So the first thing, the basic thing that most people kind of understand is Robert's Rules of Order. Now, Robert's Rules has been around a long, long time, and it started out, the first edition, very narrow book. It actually went into a second and a third and a fourth edition, adding more and more and more and getting extremely complicated. Well, it doesn't have to be. The basics of Robert's Rule of Order is really the foundation of how meetings need to be run. And it's not just for leadership. It's not just for the flotilla commander to know or the vice flotilla commander to know or those in division leadership to know. All the members need to have the basics in Robert's Rule of Order because there's two sides to a meeting. There's the audience and then there's the presenters or the leadership. So everybody needs to be on the same page. And if you're working off of the same script, you can have a very productive meeting, still have a lot of fun doing it, which I think is very important, but get things done. Now, what I've done here at this DTRAIN is I have provided I'll just call it a cheat sheet for Robert's Rules. And every division commander in the district has been provided my 5-page cheat sheet. This, I am told, is going to be disseminated down to you. But in addition to that, DTRAIN staff has also communicated to me that they'll be disseminating and sending this material out because all membership should have it. In the future, if for some reason you don't get it, feel free to email me and I would be happy to provide you with a copy. Again, it's a great foundational document and it will give you, in just a glance, the basics on everything from motions to how do you interrupt the speaker, the right way, to voting, and how to, shall we say, deal with certain circumstances that may come up that are unexpected. So Robert's rules, very, very important that you get grounded in the basics. Also, it's online. I mean, it's everywhere. So you almost never hear about it, but it's vitally important, especially for new members coming in, to familiarize yourself with Robert's rules so you can be an active, productive participant in these meetings. So the second point I want to make is that all members in a meeting need to be respectful. Now, I know that sounds pretty basic, but I think we all need to work at it sometimes. You know, leadership in a meeting needs to always be very respectful of the membership, but the membership too needs to reciprocate and be respectful back. And again, the shoulder boards and the insignia, this is not military rank. These are offices. And each office, as you know, comes with a set of responsibilities. And all the members should help all those in the offices be able to carry out the responsibilities of their office. But to do that, you need to be respectful across the board at all times. I know sometimes it's difficult, especially when things come up that present a disagreement or something like that. But leadership in the unit, whether it's at the flotilla level or the division level, that needs to be stressed and maintained. Another point, members need to talk and go through the flotilla commander or the division commander, the unit leader. That person is the one that comments, questions, input needs to be directed to in a meeting. A lot of times, and you'll see this, a lot of times you'll get private meetings springing up between members, or this side of the room is in their own discussion, and really things start to get a little bit out of hand, and that's really what you want to avoid. So even if there's a question, you know, and you could direct it to a person 4 chairs down, don't do that. And if your leadership, stress to your members, have it go through the chair, and then you don't have back and forth, and everybody then remains in the meeting and part of the conversation. And that comes to the next point, and that is keeping control of the meeting. This may sound a little weird, but I think members really want their leadership to keep control of the meeting. And that definitely is the best way to go forward. So if you are on a leadership track, if you're a vice flotilla commander or vice division commander, or in the top positions, you really need to practice making sure that you can keep control of the meeting. Now, that doesn't mean you're, I'm the boss, it's going to come down this way, or you're yelling at people, or trying to get them in line. No, nothing like that. It's a way through Robert's rules that you can conduct a very professional and civil meeting, even when there are contentious issues, and it's the chair's and the leadership's responsibility as the leader to make sure that it all stays under control and moving forward. Again, that's how we do the official business of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. So keeping control of the meeting, if you're a leader, is very important. And as a member, having been in meetings that have gone sideways, I don't think there's a member out there watching that hasn't been in a meeting or two that hasn't gone sideways. I know I always appreciate it when things stay on track and continue to move forward, and I'm sure you do too. So that really is the next point. You've got to keep things moving forward. If you're a member, you need to help in that too. As a leader, you need to make sure your agenda or whatever you're talking about continues to move forward in a productive way. It's very important. People get sidetracked all the time. It's human nature to want to talk or go off on a tangent. As a leader and as a member trying to also support the leadership, everyone should try to stay on track and continue to move forward as best you can in a meeting. Now, my next slide, if you can see here, and this is just sort of a basic outline of doing a motion. And everybody else there was like, well, that's so simple. We do motions all the time. Well, I bet you didn't know that every motion has a minimum of 6 steps. And they're right up there, a member would raise their hand or signal leadership that they want to make a motion. They're recognized. They make the motion. Step number 2, it's followed by a second. If there's a second, maybe there's not a second, but if there's a second, then the third step, the division leadership or flotilla leadership would restate the motion to make sure it's clear. And then it's opened up for debate or discussion. After that, the unit leadership would then close debate or discussion after a fair vetting has been had. And then a vote would be taken. Again, before the vote, unit leadership is supposed to restate what the motion is. Again, you got to communicate. You have to keep everybody on the same page to move forward, and then the vote occurs. And then as a final step, the unit leadership, flotilla commander, division commander, restates and announces what the results are of the vote. And all of this should be captured in the meeting minutes. All of this should be memorialized in the meeting minutes. And again, this step-by-step process is how official business is done in the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. I know that sounds like a lot, but it can go very, very quickly. You get it down pat, but the steps are important. The steps are important. We've all been in meetings where people will raise a motion, everybody seems to agree with it, and then you're on to something else, and you forget to vote or something like that. So it's very important to make sure that you have, again, the basics of Robert's Rule. And this is just one example. So I hope you can get my cheat sheet and take a good look at it, or if not, go online, take a look at Robert's Rules so you can be part of the process in a very productive way. Now, the next meeting tip, I would say, is you've really got to be organized, okay? So if you're in leadership, you really need to have the meeting minutes done beforehand. If you can disseminate them prior to the meeting so people have more opportunity to look at them, more the better, but at least have them at the beginning of the meeting so members can review them. Have an agenda. Have a real agenda. I have been to flotilla meetings and even one division meeting where I don't want to say they were winging it, but they just really didn't have any structure and they really didn't have a plan for the meeting. And we're kind of floundering to figure out what they were really trying to accomplish on a couple of things. So have an agenda. And if you're a member in a unit and your leadership is not consistently providing an agenda, that might be a discussion point. I would definitely suggest that the membership try to encourage their leadership to do that. Also, meetings should have an absolute definite start time. Now, and I know you're don't roll your eyes. Don't roll your eyes. I can see you out there, but come on. If it's supposed to start at 7 p.m., how many times Is it 7:10, 7:15, 7:20? People are kind of coming in, right? They're funneling in, they're dribbling in, and then the unit commander may say, well, yeah, okay, it's 20 after the hour. I guess we probably should start now. Okay, don't do that. Try not to do that. Try to start on time, be consistent. If you do have late arrivals, don't start over. You need to, as a leader and as a member, respect people's time that they're contributing and be able to move forward on time. And that also goes for having an end time. If you say you're going to end at 9 p.m., end at 9 p.m. Now, that doesn't mean you can't end at 5 after, 10 till or whatever the case may be, but try to be consistent and try to be respectful, again, of other people's time so they can budget that for what they need to do. Now, meeting banter, okay? Some meeting banter, as I say, is okay, but really when you go into the business portion of a meeting, it should be focused on getting the business done and getting through the agenda. If you want fellowship, and fellowship is great, it's all about connecting and building relationships. That's the oil, as far as I'm concerned, that makes the machinery of what we do fun and actually more efficient when we get to know each other and do things with each other other than doing business. But the fellowship time, I would recommend, or afterwards, have a specific time for that. But when it's time to actually get to the business side, that needs to be business. All right, so another tip I'd like to give is knowing your audience. Every member of a flotilla can participate in a vote. I think most people know that, most members know that, and I think everyone's pretty comfortable with that. Now, at the division level, only the board members can vote in the division meeting. So who are they? Okay, at the beginning of every division meeting, at the very beginning, the division leadership shouldn't just call roll to make sure there's a quorum, but they should tell the audience who is on the board in the room and that the board members are the only ones who can actually vote or make a motion. They're the only ones that legally there can do business for the Coast Guard Auxiliary. So that's very, very important. But non-voting members definitely should go to the division meetings. That's when your FSO staff get with the SO staff so they can coordinate. And they can coordinate with the flotilla commanders there at the division meeting. So it's a perfect opportunity, just because you may not get a vote because you're not on the division board, doesn't mean you shouldn't go to the division meetings. Please go to the division meetings, participate, coordinate with your colleagues in the other flotillas. What a great opportunity it is for you to actually get involved in that area. I mean, that is really what it's all about. But setting expectations is extremely important. And again, as division leadership, you need to make sure your audience is aware what they can and cannot do from a voting or making a motion, perspective in the division meeting. Otherwise, they may say, well, why am I here if I can't participate? Okay, so very, very important. I threw this slide in because it's an example of an agenda. It doesn't, this is one that we use, and yours doesn't have to be this detailed. This is just an example. But if you take a look at it, you'll see that we actually put the names with the offices on the agenda. And I think that's very important to recognize the staff officers in any unit, whether it's the flotilla level or the division level, when you're going through the agenda of the week. Not only is it recognition, but it lets them know that they're really part of this team, and it also keeps people on track as you're going through the agenda. They know when they're coming up, expectations, and all of that. So again, just an example for you, but try to incorporate as much positive into your, I guess, leadership role as you can when working with the membership. So I also guess want to stress staying in your mission lane. I think it's very easy to get sidetracked and to go in some other directions. Again, we're the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. We have certain mission lanes that we are supposed to focus on, and it's sometimes easy to get sidetracked when we're partnering with outside entities, or there are other causes in our community that might pull at either our heartstrings or something else. So we have to be very careful what we get involved with and should try to stay focused. If there's any doubt at all whether or not you're straying, go through the chain of leadership and management, okay? It's always good to get a second opinion or a third opinion if you're going to try to do something a little bit outside the box. Everybody wants to make sure that what they're doing is correct, and nobody wants to get into trouble. So please utilize your chain of leadership and management. I think that's extremely important, not to be afraid to tap that. It's great experience, and chances are they've either tried it, thought about it, or it's been ruled out for whatever reason. Keep in mind too, very important, the positions are not person-based, but position-based. People fill positions, so make sure you respect that. Make sure you understand that, this, even though we wear the uniform, this is not a military organization per se. We're not in the military, but we're not a club either. So we have to be very important that we comport ourselves in a professional manner, but not go to so extreme that we are having cliques or being, shall we say, not inclusive with all of our membership. We need to be very supportive of that. So about the last thing I want to touch on, last two things is, first, make sure you understand that your meetings are closed unless you want somebody to join the meeting by invitation, or if you think it's okay for them to be in the meeting to hear the information, that's fine. But if someone, for lack of a better term, crashes your meeting, no, please ask them to leave. This is not a complete wide open meeting that you're having. It is for members only. And also, if you're high up in office, or used to be a high up in office, or hold a higher unit leadership position, when you're visiting flotillas or other units or lower units, please be mindful. Please be mindful and respectful of that unit's running the meeting and their leadership, so that you can mentor or have an opportunity to mentor without embarrassing anyone or putting anyone on the spot. So that's really it. There's my phone number. Anybody with questions on this is free to contact me. I think my email's also in Aux Officer, and would be happy to, again, directly share my my tips on Robert's Rules. And I hope this has been a very helpful session for you. And thank you very much for your time.